Do my best. So when I thought about what to talk about and how to make use of this time, I thought, well, maybe I'll tell a bit of a story of...
For over 3 decades, Eustace Conway built a life that seemed simple, rustic, and completely connected to nature. On Mountain Men, fans saw a man living off the land, teaching survival skills, and embracing the wild with unmatched passion. To the outside world, he appeared to be a straightforward frontiersman, a man whose life was defined by honesty, hard work, and a deep connection to the wilderness. But behind the camera and away from the spotlight, there was another side to Eustace that few suspected. For 30 years, he lived a life filled with secrets, private pursuits, and decisions that were hidden from fans, friends, and even colleagues. What he kept private was far removed from the rugged lifestyle seen on television. This double life raises questions that fans have never dared to ask. How did he balance the life of a public figure with the secrets he held? And why did it take so long for anyone to discover the truth? Now, for the first time, the story is coming to light. This is more than just a behind-the-scenes look at Eustace Conway. It's an uncovering of the life that existed beyond the cameras, the survival lessons, and the public persona. What fans are about to learn challenges everything they thought they knew about him, revealing a side that was carefully hidden for decades. From the beginning, Eustace Conway presented himself as a man entirely devoted to the wilderness. His life on television, on stage, and in public appearances portrayed someone wholly committed to natural living, survival skills, and teaching others to respect the land. Fans were captivated by his authenticity, believing they were seeing the complete truth of his life. But in reality, there were layers that remained hidden for decades. Aspects of his life that only a select few ever witnessed. Those closest to him say that while the public persona emphasized simplicity and self-sufficiency, there were private interests and personal decisions that few could reconcile with the image of the rugged frontiersman. These private pursuits ranged from financial ventures to personal relationships that were kept entirely out of the spotlight. Even his most trusted colleagues on Mountain Men admit that they were unaware of the full extent of what Eustace was doing outside of the camera's gaze. Over the years, hints of this double life appeared in subtle ways. Certain trips, financial moves, and private correspondences seemed unusual to those who knew him casually. However, because he was regarded as intensely private, most people dismissed these occurrences as part of his eccentric nature. It wasn't until patterns emerged over decades that the truth became undeniable. There was a side of Eustace Conway that existed entirely apart from the life portrayed. To millions of fans, part of what made the revelation so surprising was the contrast between his public and private personas. On one hand, he was the passionate teacher of survival skills, inspiring others to leave behind modern conveniences and embrace nature. On the other hand, he carefully maintained activities and relationships that remained completely hidden. Sources say that the double life was not motivated by malice or deceit, but rather by a desire to separate personal freedom from public expectation. He had created a space where he could live beyond scrutiny while still fulfilling the persona fans adored. Silence played a key role in maintaining this secret. Eustace was meticulous about keeping boundaries between his public image and his private endeavors. He rarely spoke about personal matters, avoided disclosing financial or relational decisions, and maintained a level of control that prevented fans, media, and even close friends from seeing the complete picture. This discipline allowed him to preserve the duality of his life for decades. But it also created an aura of mystery that heightened curiosity whenever oddities appeared. Now, with this revelation, fans are forced to rethink their understanding of him. The man who seemed fully immersed in the wilderness was also navigating private paths that were entirely hidden from public view. For those who admired him purely for his survival skills and teachings, this insight adds a complex layer. Eustace Conway was not just a figure of nature, but a man managing a life filled with dualities, carefully balancing what the world saw with what remained private. This first glimpse into his double life lays the groundwork for understanding why the next revelation was so shocking. It wasn't just about hidden actions. It was about a mindset and lifestyle that had been sustained for 30 years, invisible to the public eye, yet integral to who he really was. What comes next will uncover the events and choices that define this hidden life, exposing a reality fans never expected. Despite his public image as a devoted frontiersman, Eustace Conway's hidden life had layers that few could have imagined. The first major revelation involves his extensive private pursuits projects, investments, and relationships that he carefully shielded from both fans and colleagues. While the world admired his wilderness skills, Eustace had been managing ventures that connected him to people and places far beyond the forests and mountains fans associated with him. This dual existence created a tension between the life he projected and the life he lived privately, a balancing act he maintained with remarkable discipline for decades. According to sources close to him, part of his motivation for maintaining secrecy was freedom. By keeping certain aspects of his life hidden, Eustace was able to act without expectation, judgment, or interference. His wilderness persona allowed him to inspire others and gain public admiration, while his private pursuits offered him independence, security, and the ability to explore opportunities without scrutiny. For 30 years, he navigated these two worlds with careful attention, ensuring that neither interfered with the other. The secrecy extended into personal relationships as well. While fans and even colleagues assumed his focus was solely on survival, teaching, and conservation, there were connections he maintained in private that influenced his decisions and shaped his character. These relationships, often long-term and deeply impactful, existed quietly alongside the life broadcast on television. The public only saw the version of Eustace that fit the narrative of the rugged, self-sufficient frontiersman, unaware of the personal ties that added depth to his character and motivated certain choices. What makes this double life particularly fascinating is the subtle hints that existed over the years. Observant fans and insiders occasionally noticed inconsistencies, unexplained trips, financial decisions that didn't fit the public narrative, or moments of behavior that seemed out of character. Most dismissed these anomalies as eccentricities, quirks of a man devoted to living outside conventional norms. Yet, when pieced together, these moments formed a pattern, revealing the careful orchestration of a life lived both publicly and privately. The revelation also raises questions about the pressures of maintaining a public persona. Eustace Conway became a symbol of survival and simplicity, a figure admired by millions who longed to escape modern life. With fame comes expectation, and for someone so intensely private, that expectation could have been stifling. Maintaining a hidden life allowed him to preserve autonomy, acting on personal goals and desires without the burden of public judgment. In many ways, it was a survival tactic in its own right, navigating the wilderness of public attention while protecting a separate, private identity. Fans' reactions to this revelation were immediate and emotional. Many expressed surprise, struggling to reconcile the man they thought they knew with the complexity of a hidden life spanning 3 decades. Yet there was also admiration for his ability to balance these worlds, keeping one life completely hidden while thriving in the other. Observers recognized that this was not about deceit, but about carefully managing boundaries in order to protect the essence of who he was. This hidden layer also deepens appreciation for his public contributions. While the secret life may initially seem at odds with his on-screen persona, it actually reinforces his dedication, discipline, and intelligence. To live authentically in 2 worlds simultaneously requires strategy, patience, and self-awareness, qualities that fans have admired in him for years. The revelation doesn't diminish his image. It adds nuance, showing that the man behind Mountain Men possessed a complexity and resilience few could match. As the truth emerges, the story of Eustace Conway evolves from a simple tale of survival and wilderness expertise to a multi-dimensional narrative about secrecy, autonomy, and personal choice. Fans are left to reflect on how public figures navigate unseen pressures, how private lives intersect with public personas, and how the decisions made in solitude can shape a legacy as much as those made in full view. The most astonishing aspect of Eustace Conway's hidden life wasn't just the private projects or discreet relationships, it was the choices he made that contradicted the rugged persona fans saw on television. For years, viewers admired him as a man entirely devoted to nature, living simply and teaching others to respect the wilderness. Yet behind the scenes, sources reveal that he engaged in activities that were completely unexpected, a reality that remained hidden for decades. These choices challenged assumptions about who he was and added a surprising dimension to his story. One of the most striking revelations involved his financial decisions. Despite portraying a life free from material concerns, Eustace had long been involved in ventures that ensured stability and security, both for himself and for the calm. To private endeavors that had no connection to fame or television. This meant juggling responsibilities, maintaining relationships, and making decisions that would protect his secrets while still fulfilling his public obligations. Friends who observed him during this period describe a man disciplined, meticulous, and often exhausted, balancing two completely separate worlds without ever letting one interfere with the other. Another layer of the revelation involved the influence of mentors, collaborators, and private allies who shaped his hidden life. These were individuals who understood the delicate balance Eustace maintained between the public and private spheres. Their guidance helped him navigate challenges, maintain discretion, and protect his autonomy. For decades, this network of support remained completely invisible, yet it was crucial in allowing him to live authentically in both worlds. Without them, it's unlikely he could have sustained such secrecy for 30 years. Fans and critics were particularly struck by the emotional consequences of this dual existence. Maintaining a double life for decades is not without strain. Sources close to Eustace reveal moments of internal conflict, where the demands of public expectation clashed with private ambitions and relationships. These tensions added depth to the man fans thought they knew, showing that even someone as seemingly fearless and self-sufficient as Eustace Conway faced personal challenges, compromises, and difficult choices. The revelation made him human in a way few expected, proving that the wilderness persona was only one part of a more complex life. Interestingly, the secrecy also served as a shield for those around him. By keeping certain aspects of his life private, Eustace protected friends, family, and collaborators from public scrutiny, controversy, or judgment. In many ways, his hidden life wasn't solely for his benefit. It was a protective measure designed to safeguard others and maintain the integrity of his public work. This added a layer of nobility to the story, showing that discretion was not merely self-serving but often thoughtful and deliberate. The revelation fundamentally changes how fans perceive him. For decades, Eustace Conway was admired for his skills, survival knowledge, and dedication to the natural world. Now, understanding the hidden complexity of his life adds a new dimension: admiration for his discipline, strategic thinking, and ability to navigate secrecy while remaining authentic in both spheres. The man behind the wilderness is not only a teacher of survival, but also a master of balance, privacy, and foresight. After 3 decades of secrecy, the revelation of Eustace Conway's hidden life sent ripples through fans, the media, and even his closest associates. Suddenly, the man known for his unwavering dedication to the wilderness and simple living was seen in a new light, as someone who had carefully balanced 2 completely separate worlds for 30 years. The magnitude of this revelation wasn't just in the secrets themselves, but in the discipline and foresight required to maintain such a delicate balance over so long. The first impact was on his public image. Fans who had admired him solely for his survival skills, teachings, and rugged lifestyle began to appreciate a more complex reality. Eustace was not only a wilderness expert, but a strategic thinker, a man capable of managing both public expectations and private ambitions simultaneously. The realization that he had a hidden life filled with personal projects, relationships, and decisions kept entirely out of view added a layer of depth to the persona people thought they understood. Admiration for him grew, tempered now with awe at the discipline required to live authentically in 2 worlds at once. The revelation also sparked reflection within the industry. Colleagues and collaborators realized that their understanding of Eustace had been incomplete. Decisions that had once seemed mysterious or puzzling now had context. His ability to balance multiple priorities, maintaining public responsibilities while quietly managing private endeavors, showed a level of professionalism and foresight that few had fully recognized. It became clear that the hidden life had influenced not just his personal journey, but also the trajectory of his career, shaping projects, partnerships, and even public appearances. Fans reacted with a mix of surprise, admiration, and curiosity. Social media exploded with discussion as people pieced together clues from old interviews, videos, and public events. Suddenly, moments that had seemed ordinary or eccentric were reinterpreted as intentional, hints of the private life that had quietly shaped his actions. Some fans expressed shock at the scale of the secrecy, while others praised Eustace for maintaining authenticity in his public persona despite living a life far more complex than anyone realized. Equally important was the emotional impact of the revelation. Maintaining a double life for 30 years is no small feat. Sources close to him revealed moments of stress, sacrifice, and careful planning, showing that the balance between public and private life came with real challenges. Yet the fact that he managed to sustain it for so long without compromising his principles or public image spoke to his dedication, resilience, and intelligence. The hidden life was not a deception but a carefully managed strategy, allowing him to pursue personal goals while remaining true to his public mission. The long-term effects of this revelation are still unfolding. For fans, it reshapes how they view his teachings, projects, and public persona. For colleagues and collaborators, it highlights the unseen influences behind key decisions. And for Eustace himself, the disclosure marks a turning point, a moment when the private life that had been hidden for decades finally became part of the story everyone could understand. It reinforces the idea that authenticity isn't always about full transparency, but about carefully managing what is shared and what is kept private in order to maintain integrity, balance, and personal freedom. Ultimately, the story of Eustace Conway's double life is a lesson in complexity, discipline, and human resilience. It reminds fans that even those who seem simple, fearless, or wholly committed to one path may carry hidden layers that define their choices and actions. The revelation does not diminish his legacy. It enriches it, showing that the man who inspired millions to connect with nature also possessed a depth, foresight, and capacity for discretion that few could match. In the end, the world may have finally glimpsed the full story behind Eustace Conway, a life of wilderness, survival, and adventure, intertwined with private decisions, hidden pursuits, and a steadfast commitment to living on his own terms. The 30-year secret is out, and while it surprises many, it also elevates the respect, admiration, and understanding of a man who has always been more than meets the eye.